As a young boy, I grew up in a good family environment, but even at a young age, I already knew there were a couple of deficiencies within me. There was this sense of insecurity. The other was a sense of insignificance. There was this craving within me, my soul, of needing to be accepted and belong. But my family didn't really provide that environment. There was often quarrels and fights between me and my parents and my brother. I never really felt safe at home. That drove me to seek out a surrogate family, like my friends, and because of peer pressure, I often got influenced by bad company. 12 years old, I'll be hanging out with my friends, we'll be skipping school, smoking, fighting. At that point of time, I was lost and confused. I had a difficulty in trying to make sense of who I was as in my identity. I always tried to role model myself after the heroes of my day, rock icons that they portrayed, Guns N' Roses. Man, I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be on stage, having people, hordes of fans, screaming after me. That was how depraved I was. That was how deprived of attention and love. So I decided to pick up my first electric rock guitar, and we joined bands, we won band competitions, talent time in school. We did pretty well, but at the expense of my studies and the relationships that I had with my family. Before too long, I was expelled from school. I was telling myself, who needs the system, the education system? Who needs family and parents? And in Singapore, all males need to serve the nation through national service. We call it NS. That's when I started to strike it out in a local club scene. We would tour from pub to pub and club to club, and we would be playing, and I was constantly craving for acceptance with groups of people. And in the music industry, I would hang out with those guys, they would be smoking, they would be drinking, getting themselves drunk silly, and I would be joining them. I would be exposed to drugs. And that was the beginning of my downfall. Initially, I did not really like the smell or the taste of drugs. But because I needed to fit in to my group of friends, before too long I was actually hooked. After having served my national service, that 2 years, I started to join different bands. I had band agents brought us overseas to play overseas, like in Malaysia and Thailand. And the prospects were much better, and I started to join it. I thought this was it. I thought that life was meant to be lived fast and furious, rock and roll. And that was my only aspiration back then. I started to live the wild life. The drug laws and the vice that happens outside of Singapore is much more rampant. Drugs were so much cheaper and they were very accessible. I could get them off anywhere, any street corner. During my off days, I would come back into Singapore from Malaysia and I would bring back stashes of drugs with me. I brought the drugs back to Singapore because I was craving for acceptance. My friends would be calling me and they would be saying, Glenn is coming back during this weekend. Let's throw him a party. He's a party man. He's got the stuff. One fine day, the law caught up with me. Nearing 1995, it was during the New Year's Eve transition period. And I brought with me my largest quantity of drugs ever brought in before. And when I crossed into that customs checkpoint at the causeway where I came in from Malaysia to Singapore, and I got my passport stamp, and over at the end of the queue were two customs officers that were waiting for me. When I approached them, the two officers stopped me and they said, "Excuse me sir, can you follow us back behind to the body strip search room?" All my concealed drugs were uncovered in that instant. I was charged for importing drugs into my country. And the importation charge in Singapore carries with it a life sentence. 30 years plus 24 strokes of the cane. I had that one phone call to make, and I knew instantly that I needed to touch base with my parents. And so I was in the courtrooms, and my parents came to bail me out. They broke down and they went down on their knees. They were crying and they were saying, "My son, what have you done with your life? One foolish mistake and your whole life is gone." And so I was out on bail. I knew I only had 4 months and I was preparing myself emotionally, mentally to go into prison for life. There was no way out. I knew someone from Teen Challenge. Now, Teen Challenge is a halfway house. It's a drug rehabilitation center, and it was a Christian-run, faith-based program. The first week, during chapel service, I remember praying this prayer. I said, "God, if you were real, if you are really what these people are making you out to be, then come into my life. I've wasted all these 20 years of my life. I've screwed it up. Come take over. That was my prayer for the first time. I felt a peace that just descended upon me and flooded my soul, filling every corner and crevice of my emptiness. It was so fulfilling and satisfying. I can't even begin to describe it because it transcends understanding. I was about to face the prospect of going into prison for life. I had nothing left. And yet, for the first time, I thought I had everything. That void within me was filled. The day came for me to be sentenced after 4 months, and the judge pointed at me and he said this, "Glenn, I read all your appeals, I've considered all your mitigation report, and I'm going to drop your initial charge of importation, a life sentence, 30 years, right down to a first-time possession charge." And he used these words, unprecedented, because it's never been done before and even after my case. I'm going to sentence you a bare minimum of 6 months. 6 months compared to 30 years life sentence. I mean, 6 months was like a holiday, man. I was overjoyed. I remembered in the courtrooms, nearly jumping for joy. But deep within my soul, I was thanking God. I was saying, "God, thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you for your mercy." I went into prison a happy man. And it was that time, that critical moment in prison when I was exposed to the needs and the cries of people like myself. And that was where the Lord laid upon me this burden, this compassion to reach out to these people, the down and out, the disenfranchised. Today, my perspective of life is totally transformed and changed. I see life as meant to be lived abundantly, and also that God can use anyone, those who have been down and out before. When He begins to redeem them, He gives them abundant life. The devil is here to steal, kill and destroy, but Jesus came to give life, and life to the max. Maxed out, living out their full potential. Jesus is not just my Savior. Jesus is my friend. He's a friend of sinners. And because of that, I have a friend in Jesus, because I was once a sinner myself. Today I look at people and I see Jesus being their friend. No matter how far-fetched the idea of them being able to be redeemed is. He's my everything. He's the giver of life. His grace, His mercy triumphs over even the logical sense of life. People have pointed fingers at me and say, "You shouldn't be here today," or it's just by coincidence or by luck. But I owe it all to Jesus. He saved me. He redeemed me and He picked me out from the miry clay and put me on that rock. Today I stand firm not by my own doing, my own knowledge or understanding. My confidence is definitely not in myself. It's in Jesus who saved me and loved me. And He can surely do that for you as well.